Hi, this is Humboldt Harvey, and this is my take on the fifth step. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. At first glance, if you stop to ponder the step, it seems kind of silly, actually. Why would I confess to my higher power the nature of my defects and wrongs done? If I believe in a supreme higher power, then wouldn't that entity be fully aware of everything that I have done already? And then, why shouldn't I just think, well, that's that. I wrote them all down, so I could see the patterns and acknowledge them all. So why this exercise in futility? And how is it that my writing them down wasn't already an admission, and what is the point of another human being listening in going to do? Why confess all this darkness to another person? First, let's look at the God confession thingy. We all secretly believe that somehow we can hide our wrongs from our higher power. But even if we adopt the attitude of God knows it all anyway, right? We run into a problem. Specifically, we are not actually surrendering all this baggage to scrutiny. We think that it is still the weakness that we carry with us, afraid to give it up for fear of losing the status of social acceptance. Which, when you think about it, was really imaginary social pressure from our own minds. Without this confession, we are unable to move forward to the next level of mental freedom. In other words, we really are not acknowledging the full extent of our defects, so it would be impossible to move on to a healthier state of thinking. Sanity will elude us as we try to hide from ourselves. The ultimate point is that when we reveal our shameful conduct and character defects to our higher power, we are at the same time admitting to ourselves that these were not just circumstances to be ignored. Now, one should be careful in choosing someone to hear all about our shameful past. You need to be certain that you are safe in your confession, and so you should choose wisely. If you feel that you can't really trust anyone in your group, or just feel your sponsor will think less of you, you might be mistaken. But if these feelings persist, then look for someone out of the group. I have actually had strangers to me from out of town take their fifth step with me, never to be seen again in my life. Also, some choose to do this with a professional who is bound by law and ethics not to disclose anything from a fifth step confession. My sponsor is a lawyer and is so bound. Notice I have one. The one common factor, and I can't stress this enough, is not to wait with all this junk floating around in your head. Many in AA has returned to drinking from not understanding why they should do this step, and its predecessor, the fourth step. Procrastinating from fear over the fifth step leads one to think all character defects and repeating negative experiences are inescapable, and starts the old flaming hamster wheel of mental and emotional doom. For myself, I often tell sponsees that it's now my job to carry their burdens to the grave, not theirs anymore. They are released. The other person in the equation ensures that we are actually fully acknowledging all these negative experiences and traits to God and to ourselves. Without the witness, this would be impossible. The other person forces us by their very presence to look at our past in a complete way. Further, this lays the groundwork for changing what we would otherwise hide. Emotionally, you know this. The single act of confession releases us from carrying that burden of hidden shame based on fear. It allows us to confront for the first time in our lives those fears and the shame accompanying it. Without this step, we would wallow in the self-centered fears and defects we have written down. We would not have begun the practice of finding our triggers and behaviors that keep us trapped on the hamster wheel of doom. It is this same self-centered hiding that has kept you isolated and apart from others while you convinced yourself you were unworthy, undeserving, or the mirror opposites of narcissistic traits that all serve to shield you from shame. The egomaniac with an inferiority complex, as the Big Book points out. In effect, you'll break the bubble of your long hidden list of both victim mentality and self-righteous explanations for bad behavior, dropping your shield and setting the stage for looking at the character defects as blocks to mental health and our future behavior when they arise. What comes from this is an actual wonderful experience of release. You will now really see how your own thinking was trapping you, and you will stand on the verge of the next level of spiritual and emotional development. For many, this is the first genuine spiritual experience of their lives. Now, mind you, not everyone has the instantaneous feeling of release. Many come to realize that over the next few days or so, they begin to feel a real part of our fellowship, and that some of the barriers to their morbid or negative self-reflection begin to dissolve. It is from this step that we start to see how our behaviors were driven, and more importantly, the groundwork for the steps to changing these life-threatening, repetitious thoughts and emotions. So don't fear this. For most of us, to do so is exactly like a toddler being afraid of the wading pool, and then discovering it is one of the coolest experiences around. The more honest you are, the more you receive its emotional and mental blessings, and the better your conscious contact with your higher power becomes. You are no longer hiding from it or blocked from it and others by the distracting confusion of fearful alcoholic thinking. And the better your conscious contact with your higher power becomes. Once you have found your person, arrange a time that is comfortable with no other responsibilities hanging over your head. Rushing is not a good idea. I suggest you pray or ask for clarity and to be fully truthful and hold nothing back. Once you are done, I'm going to suggest that you burn or destroy your 4-step as a symbolic gesture of release. And I have noticed that some who hang on to it and refer to it seem to get hung up on it. I think it's a bad idea myself. The idea is to release, not to create a file cabinet for reference. You'll know your own past and defects without a reference data bank. It is partially from this action that the phrase, "we will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it," comes from. And you will see how your experience, once analyzed and understood as a whole, can benefit others. You will stand as someone who has passed the first real test of their commitment to a new way of life and who is on a genuine and true spiritual sober path. May peace, love, and light be your heart's delight. Until next time, this is Humboldt Harvey wishing you happy trails.